Hi, I'm Michael Halperin, CEO of Apogee IT Services. Welcome to the 6th installment of our video blog series on what it takes to have world-class IT. In the first 5, I talked about what it takes to build a world-class IT function, the staffing and the processes and the tools. This time we're going to talk about the foundation of it all, the infrastructure that you need to deliver world-class IT. Now certainly you're going to have the security and network and server and storage and everyone's critical application, email. But to be world-class, it has to be always available. So think about it. Let's say that you came to the office one day and your building was a smoking hole in the ground. What's the first thing that you need to do? Well, for many businesses, it's get back the IT department because you need them to get everybody else back up. To have world-class IT, you've got to have an infrastructure that has 3 things: resiliency, security, and continuity. Now, I define resiliency as the absence of single points of failures. Think about that. The components that we've talked about so far, the staffing, the tools, the documentation. If you're single-threaded at any of those things, your staffing skill sets or your tools or your information you need, including your documentation, it's a bad plan. It certainly isn't world-class. Everything that you really need to keep that function in operation has to exist in more than one place. You've got to have redundancy in your critical staffing skill sets. You've got to have redundancy in the way that you've designed your tools. The underlying infrastructure, the network, the storage, the security, the servers, all that has to be what we call N+1, which means what you need plus one more. So you need 2 internet security service providers. You need 2 firewalls, preferably configured in a high availability pair, so if one dies, the other one will keep working. Your tools are probably going to be either in the cloud, which is inherently redundant, or they're going to be virtual servers running on a virtual server host. Well, if that's the case, you need 2 virtual server hosts, N+1. You need multiple backups. You need to have an email continuity plan. Those are the things that you need in order to have a resilient infrastructure to support world-class IT. The second piece is security. Now you might ask, well, why is security part of this conversation? Today, security is a big threat, maybe the biggest threat in any system. So making sure that you've got security best practices in place, which means a multi-layered security profile, is really, really important. You got to have perimeter security, antivirus, anti-spam, web filtering to make sure that people aren't getting to websites that you really don't want them to get to. If you've got that kind of a profile, then your weak link becomes your end users. So you need to train your end users on their role in making sure that your environment stays secure, because in this day and age, most security events that happen are the result of somebody clicking on something, very often in a phishing email, that actually invites in the attack. So teaching people what to look for and how to avoid those problems becomes really, really important. The third component is continuity. Now you might say, well, we talked about resiliency. What's the difference between resiliency and continuity? If you think back to that conversation we had a couple minutes ago, the resiliency was really about technology. Continuity is about having a plan. People say, for instance, well, I have backups. Well, backup is not the same as business continuity. Backup is what you need so that you can get data back or bring back a system if it goes down. Business continuity is about just that. How am I going to stay in business? So imagine you've got an extended power outage or a flood or a fire, what we refer to as that smoking hole in the ground scenario. Imagine that true disaster. If you're used to having world-class IT keeping your business running, that world-class IT function is going to be critical if you're going to get your business back up and running again. So how do we do that? Well, we already saw above, your tools are already available because they're resilient. This is really about the IT people. What are the tools and what are the procedures they have so that they can be effective? And in this scenario, they've got to be very effective when they can't get to their office. A lot of IT departments will tell their people, hey, you know what? I want you to work at home for a couple of days just so you're familiar with the tools and the procedures of knowing how to be effective working when you can't get to our office. That's how world class operates. At Apogee, we've built a highly resilient support infrastructure. Our critical tools and information are replicated with geographic diversity. We have depth and breadth of our staff, so we're not single-threaded on any of our critical skills. And our client documentation is strong enough that we're never relying upon tribal knowledge to take care of our customers. Now for our customers, Apogee itself provides the resiliency because we're always here. So whether it's a smoking hole in the ground or a server crash or just a lost password, Apogee is here to provide world-class IT to keep your business running smoothly. So we've talked now about all the components of building a world-class IT function. Clearly it takes careful thought and diligent execution on part of management to make it real. And that's what we're going to talk about the next time, the management focus it takes to build and maintain world-class IT. In the meantime, feel free to view the other chapters of our video blog or just look around our website, or you can always just give us a call at 844-927-6433. Thanks for tuning in.